Good morning, good evening, or maybe good afternoon, depending on where you are watching this from. So, my name is Vivian Acquah. I'm a certified inclusion strategist and also a CQ facilitator, cultural intelligence facilitator. And welcome to a new episode of Let's Humanize the Workplace, where I interview amazing guest speakers connected to the main topic. And I also want to say a little bit about myself. I support managers, leaders, and teams with effective collaboration and communication. Yes, it's early. It's an intensive weekend. We were talking about so many things, but today's topic is a topic that is close to my heart, close to all our hearts, and to give you some more context, because a while ago, just a few weeks ago, I had a conversation with Mary Jane about trust and how to deal with layoffs, right? I recently met Ty. Ty is my colleague of TruthWorks, and we started talking about trust. And that's when we decided to have a deep dive on trust and how we can support people in the workplace regarding trust. So let me properly introduce my guest speakers. So today I have Ty, and Ty is, let me see, Ty is with 30 years of working in 6 countries and for companies such as Nike, Zalando, and others. Ty has seen what works better with trust, but also as a coach, as an advisor, he partners with leaders and teams to build skills and shift behaviors to remix more trust into their leadership and dynamics. And Mary Jane Roy, she is a resiliency facilitator, also the founder of Creative Wave, and also my partner in change when it comes to humanizing the workplace. And she specializes in equipping individuals and teams with the tools to navigate challenges and build lasting strength. So, all of us are doing different things to boost collaboration, to boost communication. And one of the main themes that keeps coming back is trust and how to boost trust. And to also say something about that is um, it's the morning, we are in Europe, and I want to share a snippet of what's happening at the moment right now when it comes to talent shortages right now, because companies are dealing with talent shortages, and trust or distrust can also be the reason why people are leaving, right? So we want to make sure that we cater to bring in different topics regarding today. And let's start with Ty. What is your definition of humanizing the workplace?
Yeah, thanks, Viv. Looking forward to being with you all in this session. So for me, humanizing the workplace is bringing the human element to what we do. So it's not just being a cog in a wheel or a number on a spreadsheet. We are human
Mm-hmm.
beings doing the work. So as we are doing the collaboration, we are going through the tough times, the good times. We're always having the employee be at the heart of what we do, how we do it, how we should be designing our practices, our journeys, our policies, and just the day-to-day interactions with each other, that we're treating each other, with respect, with empathy, to create that sense of belonging.
You're mentioning so many things, and for me,
Mm.
empathy is my main jam of connecting with people, but also not treating people as numbers, because oftentimes people are being hired, they're not being seen, and they eventually feel like they are part of the team or not part of the team because they have a feeling there's a disconnect, and they are um, dealing with a segregation within the team, because people may think that people are included because they are part of the team, but even within the team there is a segregation thing that's happening where they feel like they are not met. So thank you for sharing that, Ty. And Mary Jane.
Yeah, I've got a bit of a frog in my throat, so kicker in
Mhm.
my kale, as the Dutch say. Let's see if I can keep it down. Um, yeah, you know what came to my mind with that question,
Mhm.
Vivian, is the fact that more and more HR departments are becoming people and culture or employee experience departments, and I think that
Yeah.
says a lot for to speak, Ty, to what you were sharing. That
Hmm.
they're looking at people's needs, their well-being, prevention of burnout, upskilling, those kinds of topics. Um, And I think, it's not that some HR teams are not doing that, but I think many are still stuck in the policies, in the numbers, in the cogs in the wheel, and, having to do the organizational outforwarding. Vivian, help me.
Organizational processing, organizational tasks,
Yeah. And so it's that
executing.
they're still stuck in that
Yep.
in that role,
Mhm.
and I think organizations that are not catching on to this, I don't see how it's not sustainable, because when employees are more engaged, and that's what we're really talking about, is engaging our employees, the organizational needs are going to excel. So why wouldn't they make this investment?
Yeah.
It's
And that's an interesting thing, because you're talking about HR, but also I know it stands for human resources, but people also need to realize that HR is, in the end, HR is there to support the business and to mitigate risk. Mitigate risk when it comes to leading people, when it comes to hiring people, when it comes to onboarding people, when it comes to their whole employee journey. So oftentimes people may see like HR is a safety fallback, which can be it can be the case, but we also have to realize the position of HR and what HR is meant to do, and that is support the business, supporting the people. But in the end goal is supporting the business, and everything that is a risk, they also need to be there to mitigate those risks as well.
Yeah.
I'm seeing some comments in the chat. I also want to clear them as well. So, hi, Norman. Thank you for being in this
Great.
conversation.
Hi,
And
Norman.
I also see Noura, and Noura is sharing. I'm hoping that I'm pronouncing your name right. I've learned more about apartheid in Netherlands in the workplace than I grew up in South Africa. Yeah, the kruiwagen, the nepotism in NL, especially the maritime industry, where the safer thinkers. So there is a book called The Seven Check Marks, Seven Check Marks, by Joris Luiterdijk, which talks about privilege in a different way, and that's what Nora is referring to. And this is a deep dive, Nora. We need to have a different conversation regarding that, but we will. I will see if we can try and integrate regarding that, because trust is also, there's so many levels to trust. So let us dive into to trust. But before we do that, I would like to know which song energizes you recently. What was the song that you were listening to recently?
So there was a song I haven't heard in a while, but through Spotify, things kind of pop up ever so often, and it was from the Greatest Showman, and the song is "This Is Me." Whenever I hear that, I picture when I first got exposed to it, watching a YouTube clip of the rehearsal of it, and seeing the female singer, which I can't remember her name now, but and the cast coming together. It just kind of gets me pumped, and remembering that this is me. I'm showing up as I am, to believe in that and move forward, no matter what's been coming at me from other people and so forth. That's the song that always kind of gets me going, with the message and then the beats and then the chorus.
I've heard so many people talk about it, and I do understand where that is coming from, because there's a lot of empowerment in that song and embracing who you are, instead of letting the outside world define who you are. So thank you, Ty.
Ty, I missed the name of the song.
This Is Me.
So This Is Me.
Oh, This Is Me. Okay, from the play Mississippi. The Greatest Showman.
Yeah.
This Is Me. Okay, I'm going to look it up. I probably know it, but I'll look it up. Yeah, and for me, Viv, not while I'm working. I mean, I don't listen to music. I think I would find it too distracting. I've never tried really, but one of the songs, and I think I've shared this with you in the past, but one of the songs that just really impacts me is Gloria Estefan and her Olympic 1996, the Olympic song "Reach." And I tell you, when you had this question on the list of things, and I thought, Oh, and I had to go and look at it, and I played it another 3 times, just, yeah, there's something that it does to my heart. So, yeah,
I love
very
that.
motivational.
For me, ever since
Yeah.
this year's Super Bowl, I'm Bad Bunny is on replay, especially the one with about the photo, right? The DTMF one, because it has a personal touch, and personally for me, it reminds me of the many memories I wish I would have made with my grandmother, by just taking a picture and capturing that essence, capturing that moment. And that DTMF song, it has some connotations of, I wish I could have made a lot of pictures with you, and you're not here, but I wish that I could make a lot of pictures with you. And it brings me a lot of joy to reminisce those times that I didn't photograph, but it's still planted in my memory. So I'm bringing in this topic up because when each one of you, and even myself, were sharing this, you could see a light within people, and oftentimes people don't even make time to have these conversations. What it reminds you of, maybe you can find a hook. Like I use my hook to bring in my grandmother, and you talked about The Greatest Showman, which brings me back. But also, Mary Jane, you talked about, the Gloria Estefan, which makes me, think back of my youth and how she was, and what kind of impact she has made. So this is a great way to create connections. I learned from Jan Kerk, instead of saying icebreaker, let's create campfires. Let's create campfires so that we can boost the connection. So I hope that this will be of help for those who want to create more campfires for connection, because we will need that when it comes to trust. So I'll start with you, Mary Jane.
Okie doke.
How should leaders address trust when it is damaged by challenging events? And we recently had a conversation about layoffs, or maybe there are other organizational changes. What is maybe one or two things that you can share about that?
Yeah, and I just want to say, because you paraphrased and said, what should leaders do? And the first thing that
What
I thought
can
of
leaders do?
yeah, no, but that's how I answered the questions. What should
Yeah.
they do? Because unfortunately, it's not happening as much as it should be. So I think one thought I had is that trust need to be addressed if the organization is transparent from the get-go. I think it's lost when that transparency is missing in the workplace. And I mentioned him in the last session that we had together, Vivian, but Bob Chapman, he passed away last week. I don't know if you knew that. Yes, he did. Ty, I don't know if you know him. He's an American, heading up the Barry Weinmiller for I think 50 years, business from his father. And in the early 2000s, he had kind of a wake-up call. But he built the business up from a multi-million-dollar business, like 20 million or so, up to 4+ billion when he passed, and his son has stepped into the CEO role a few months ago, actually. But in an interview with, I think it was CBS, he was asked the question about the current layoffs and reorganizations, and he said, I really look at it, he built that business up without losing or having to lay off anyone. All right. He said, then for me, it's bad business strategies that have enforced or encouraged or forced organizations to lay off people. And what he said also was the ones who continue to thrive are the leaders and the shareholders, if not temporarily. So it's like what maybe leaders need to take a more critical look at the decisions they're making, the business strategies that they're implementing. All right. And then the other thing that we talked about, Vivian, as well, that if organizations would only offer more support if they do need
Yeah.
to lay off,
Mhm.
reorganize, that then, get the upskilling that's needed for that person to be able to thrive in another organization. What Stripe did at least a few years ago that we know of, supporting people with their medical care for 6 months in the US, that's a big deal, not to be cut off from your medical care the moment your
Yeah.
job is gone. Those kinds of things, they're going to be wonderful ambassadors for the organization, and they may even come back, so there may be a spin-off down the road for the organization to make that investment. And yeah, maybe the shareholders have to walk away with a little less profits, but in the meantime, you're building for long-term and not short-term.
Mhm.
Those are
Exactly.
just some of the thoughts that I had, in leading up to this question.
And Ty?
I think just maybe to add on to that is the kind of vulnerability and openness. Like
Mhm.
Mary Jane was referencing is, we made a mistake, we misstepped, we misjudged. We're going to own it. We're going to work together to reposition ourselves, reorg ourselves to be more efficient or more customer focused or whatever the gap was in their performance. And just have that consistent message, the consistent why, and also just the ownership of we are where we are and we're going to own it and move forward versus dismissing it, hiding it, which just kind of builds more distrust when employees are looking at senior leadership, when they know what's happening really, why there was an issue. And if we're not hearing from the leaders, just going to dig a bigger hole and take more withdrawals in that kind of trust bank. And we need our leaders to, step by step, be consistent with the message, be consistent with how they're showing up, how they're caring for the people. They're taking the time, they're being visible, they're not sitting in the ivory tower, locking the door and making decisions, that they're on the floor, walking around, eating with their people is what's going to be needed to kind of slowly build that kind of trust bridge, brick by brick, is what's really needed.
Yeah, I like that you're using the trust bridge because I
Yes.
love San Francisco Golden Gate. We had the conversation recently, and it's also about building bridges, right, with each other. I do understand that sometimes leaders are in a tough position where they have to make decisions in the get-go where they might lose people. But then on the other hand, Mary Jane talked about the impact of layoffs from a perspective where people are leaving, but I also want to address those who are left behind. Their bridges, the bricks on those bridges might also dissolve, and that's something that you need to put in mind. Be attentive of what are you doing to reconnect, realign people, and help them, reassure them that whatever it is that you are there to support them, but also let them know where you stand. And I also feel given to the work that I do and so many people that I've spoken on, teams that I've helped, I've seen not only leaders but people within teams feeling challenged about being vulnerable, about showing up authentically because the lack of psychological safety isn't always present. So I would say when working on trust, keep in mind also about working on psychological safety at the same time. Maybe there are some exercises or journeys that you can partake to work on that trust. We have a Dutch saying, trust comes per foot, but it leaves with a horse. See it as a Formula One speed. It can leave so fast the moment that you disengage trust. And I wanted to also share a slide, and this slide it has a connection to Minda Hart's book, Talk to Me Nice, where she talks about the 7 trust languages. So knowing about the trust languages and sensitivity, transparency, security, demonstration, feedback, and acknowledgement and follow through, right? You can co-create all these different trust languages together or demystify the trust languages so that people know what is your core. Because if you don't offer me transparency I definitely would need follow through and also acknowledgement. Those are the, my top three, but it might not be the same for somebody else as well. So if you want this slide, send me a DM and I can share this image with you.
Nice one, Vivian.
Yeah. I also see something in the chat as well. So Norman is saying rise up, definitely rise up from Andrew Day. And I also see Simon Fuller say, I remember Ty sharing the trust equation with me. Oh, you have to share something about that. A very transparent and honest conversation was had and something that had a lasting impact on me. Okay. Now we are deviating from the question list. Ty,
good to see you again, Simon. Yeah, so this is something I came across in my trainings a while back, and I've kind of evolved it a bit in just the naming of it. So the research that was done by this team when they were curious about, people were saying trust, we have a trust issue. Well, what is it exactly, and what does it entail? So through that research, what they found out was the first element is around credibility. So do you think I come from a place of expertise or not? Am I using my credibility to support the team to be successful? The second element is around consistency. So do I deliver on time when I say I will at the level that I will or not? Am I reliable in that space? Am I also being consistent in how I'm showing up? So if I'm very supportive and appreciative with the team on day one, but this next day I am, blaming them, finger pointing, judging them. That's going to impact the trust they have in me as an individual and as a leader. The third area is around connection. So a bit of what we did earlier at the beginning of this is just sharing kind of who we are, what's important for us, what are our values, what our triggers and so forth. So we build that better understanding of each other is going to impact the trust levels. And then lastly, the fourth element and the biggest driver that they found in this work was around care. So am I showing you that I care more about your success or our success or my own success? So if you get a sense from my behaviors or how I talk, all I care about is this guy here, numero uno. It's going to have a massive impact on your willingness and ability to trust me. So I use this as a way to work with groups when it comes up saying, well, let's look at it exactly. Let's put ratings against each one to figure out what is either accelerating the trust levels between this person and that person, or team to team, office to office, or even individual to their organization. And then based on that, what is the root cause? What's sapping that trust level? And then have a real targeted action plan to say, hey, moving forward this week, this month, we're going to be very intentional to do this to kind of up that trust score.
Yeah. What I like about...
Go ahead, Vivian.
What I like about the trust equation, and I also want to bring you in, Mary Jane, when it comes to this topic, is triggers. We go in the workplace, we assemble teams, and we automatically assume that all the ingredients, all the different people automatically know how to collaborate better, where they match and where they add value, where they can support each other, whilst not providing an IKEA manual to collaborate, or whilst not defining a recipe book for that definition. And you mentioning triggers, which triggered me to bring in Mary Jane Roy when it comes to triggers, stress triggers. So can you also bring in your insight from that, Mary Jane?
Okay, I'm not sure.
Or triggers in collaboration, and what may rise up.
Again, it goes back to what I think in that sense. And I just wanted to say also though that I really like the trust equation. We talked about it, Ty, when we had our introduction last week for the first time meeting each other. I use it as well, not as often as I'd like, because I'd like this topic to be more relevant in teams that I do work with. What I do like about it is that it's also 360 degree. Yeah. So you can, I as a leader might think that I'm fully trustworthy, but if I get my team members to do this, then okay. So that I just wanted to throw that in the mix of what you had shared, Ty. Then as far as triggers are concerned, I think the biggest thing is that we don't spend, people don't know themselves well enough. Their
Mhm.
self-awareness is not great enough. I talked earlier about we don't know what our needs are. If, according to Brene Brown, we also don't know our emotional range. We don't have the vocabulary for it.
Yeah.
There are, what are our beliefs about ourselves, and whether they're limiting beliefs or supporting beliefs. People really do need teens need to take time to get to know themselves and each other. If I know that something is that you have a need, Vivian,
Yeah.
then if I want the best collaboration, then I'm going to do my best to ensure that that need is being met. If you have a need that I show up on time,
Yeah.
which I didn't do today.
I called you.
You did. You called me, and but yeah, that is a need. Then I'm going to do my best to support you in that. So it's this two-way street. But again, who sits at a meeting the first of the week and then says, "Does anybody want to share? Something that went wrong last week, so you can share your vulnerability." And as a leader,
it taps into, again, psychological safety. Because even though you want to work on trust, without working on psychological safety, then you can just write down trust on a paper and throw it away, because it does nothing without psychological safety. You mentioned about, I have the ability to express my need. But if there is no psychological safety, then how will people be able to express their needs, express their feelings, if they don't feel safe to express those needs and share what they need when it comes to trust?
And that's the role of the leader, I believe.
I believe so too.
Yeah.
So I would say leaders are accountable for it, but everyone on the team is responsible.
Is responsible.
Exactly.
Yes.
So
exactly.
leaders, the last one, if it's not happening, should be stepping in to initiate those conversations, to say, let's pause. Let's not talk about what we're doing, but let's talk about how we're being and how we're feeling. Regroup, reposition ourselves, and then let's get back into the doing mode. But if we keep just do and don't talk about actually how people are feeling, do they really trust their partners, their colleagues, their team members to do something? Do they feel supported? Do they feel that they're part of the out group, or there's an in group here, there's an out group here? Let's really talk about it. But if you don't talk about it, or you can't talk about it, really hard to create any change within the dynamics of the team or organization.
It comes back to the campfire. Remember the campfire where the leader, everybody is putting the wood together, but the leader is the one who lights up the campfire, and it's everybody's responsibility that campfire keeps lighted, that campfire is, having the foundation for it to lit the whole night or the whole week or whatever. But it starts with the leader. And to support leaders, because I know that a lot of people are pointing their fingers at you, it's also important for you as a leader to find and connect with facilitators or with trainers that can support you. You don't have to do the work alone. You have 3 amazing people here that can support you and your team in setting up that campfire, or keeping that campfire lit, or helping share the responsibility and share the accountability when it comes to trust and psychological safety within your team. So, okay,
absolutely.
I'm gonna skip a few questions, because I feel like some of the questions have been answered. But this is a question that I want to ask everyone in this call. What's the look and feel when trust is done right? How does it look like? How does it feel like when trust is done right?
One simple thing that I was going through a training a while back on this topic of trust was they brought up the example of sending an email to someone. So if I totally trust you, Vivian, we worked a long time, we know each other inside and out, you're very consistent and everything, I will fire off an email to you in 2 seconds, because I trust you'll know where I'm coming from, you'll trust my intentions. If we don't have that trust, I'm going to spend probably 10, 15 minutes writing, rewriting, and rewriting to make sure that there's nothing that you're going to misperceive of my thing. You're not going to judge my intentions with that email. So even that's just a very simple thing. It's a quick email because I trust you, you trust me. Or when that doesn't happen, we're spending a lot more time recrafting emails, or we're copying a boatload of people behind us, which also shows that you don't really trust this one person to help resolve this issue that we might be having or the problem we're trying to solve for.
Yeah. I really like that because it makes it tangible, Ty. The fact that for me to send an email to Vivian would be so easy and quick, and knowing it's going to land the way it should. But otherwise, if that trust is not there, then you really have to be cautious about your wording, your phrasing. I think, and one thing that came into my mind with this question, Vivian and Ty, is Barbara Fredrickson's work, and I want to say John Connolly, but I know I'm wrong there. Barbara Fredrickson in the workplace, and the John Connolly, I'll come up with his right name. He did it in personal relationships, but it's the appreciation factor. In a workplace where trust is really evident, people are showing sincere, honest appreciation for work that's being done. And it's between colleagues, and it's between the manager, leader, and team, and back at the manager and team. I mean, it's like a three-way street. All right. And the research that Barbara did was 3-to-1 is thriving workplaces, and the work that was done on relationships was 5-to-1. So for every criticism that you need to give as feedback or feed forward, that you are giving a minimum of 3-to-1 or 5-to-1 compliments, showing sincere appreciation. And it's not like 1, 2, 3, and because I want to give you this criticism. No, it's over time you build that trust, interpersonal trust. So I know that if you are offering me criticism in the workplace, then it's because it's important to you, but I also know that you value and appreciate the work I'm doing. So it's that balance. And in personal relationships, think of your partner, then at least 5-to-1. So if I'm going to have a good relationship with my husband, then I need to hear over time weighty more amount of appreciation than criticism. All right. And this couple, I wish I could think of the proper name, but this couple that did the research over 30, 40 years, they can predict within 10%, I think, margin, what relationships within 15 minutes of recorded conversations, who's going to be around in 5 or 10 years as a couple, So appreciation is critical. That's another element. And then being vulnerable was something else, that, and that's if it's a really psychologically safe team to work in, environment to work in, then you're going to be able to show that vulnerability and know that you're not going to get penalized for it. Those are a couple of things that came into my mind with that question.
I want to add a different perspective, and it reminds me of the book. The book is called Help Them Grow, Watch Them Go, by Julia and Bev, right? But
Julie Winklevigliano,
Yes, exactly. And it's also about, are you empowering your team? So the reason why I'm mentioning that is the moment that it's Sunday evening and you're thinking about the next day, about work and coming to work, what feeling does that bring up? What feeling comes up? Are you excited to collaborate with your team, except from it being a tough weekend? But are you excited to collaborate with your team and to get empowered to reignite? Or are you thinking about work with a pit in your stomach? Because trust feels excited, feels empowered, feels like You're eager to find out what innovation, what creative solutions you are going to tackle, and what you are going to create, and what kind of challenges you are going to tackle. That's how trust should feel like when
Mhm.
you are Sunday afternoon thinking about the next day and how your day should start.
Because that brings that intention into how you're going to show up and how you're going to engage. If you're bringing that
Exactly.
negativity or
Exactly.
frustration or whatever, it's really, that's going to come
Yeah.
through in how you have your meetings, how you're writing your
Yeah.
emails, your Slack messages. That tone is going to infiltrate others, and it
Yeah.
can be create a little bit of a toxic spin of more that negativity is going to spread throughout the team in the
Exactly.
dynamics.
Yeah.
Exactly, because the distrust also can add value to unconscious biases being, amplified instead of being mitigated, right? So we need trust. And I also understand that when you look in the media on certain outlets, let's say that we don't always have the best role models outside who are exemplifying it. So I love that Mary Jane is sharing Bob Chapman. There are also, I look at Obama's, both of them, of amplifying trust as well. It's not about the political regards, it's about who are these people and how they are seeing people, other people, and how they are treating them and how they are grading them. That's what I take away from both Michelle and Barack Obama as well.
Yeah, I think it's also standing in integrity. So
Yeah.
yes, you may have a different political view than mine or religious view than mine, but if
Exactly.
you are standing in integrity and you're open, you're honest, you're doing the right thing the best you can, and we're all going to have our slip-ups. But if that sense of integrity is not there, like certain media outlets, you're going to dismiss everything you're going to see, and there might be some truth, but if you don't feel that they're in integrity as they're broadcasting the news or positioning the news, it's just going to break down the trust big time.
Exactly. This is also a question I want to ask everyone. What are the small actions that people can take? So let's each of one share one or two actions that people can take to boost trust or to contribute to a more trusting culture. Shall I start with you, Mary Jane?
Yeah, you can start with me. I think what immediately comes to my mind is curiosity, but curiosity in the sense that just simple things like, how was your weekend? And really listen, actively listen, and use the LSD, listen, summarize, question more deeply, that you really are getting to know each other at a different level. Maybe asking about your favorite song, for example, okay?
Or favorite
Because
food.
Again, our favorite food, yeah. And so it's about making those small connections that over time are going to blossom into a thriving relationship. So that's something that pops into my head,
Yeah.
Being curious and wanting to, and also respecting if the person doesn't want to share, that's okay too. That's okay too. And not judging and not putting a stamp on that, a label on that person, just that's okay. So
There's a lot there. And Ty, what about you?
For me, it's really being intentional around and leveraging our conversational intelligence and having that more transformational conversation versus the kind of transactional or positional transactions or conversations where I'm going to tell you my idea, I'm going to sell you my idea, I'm going to yell at you until you buy into my idea. Not a great way to build trust. But if we're open, like Mary Jane was talking about, we're curious about that other perspective. We're not attached to our way of doing things, to work kind of side by side as we look at the issue we're solving for, in those key moments that matter, be it a one-on-one or a team meeting. We're opening up the space for different perspectives. We're stepping into the intersection of all the different ideas that are being expressed to take the best idea and move forward. But we have to be really clear on, again, what's our intention with this conversation, what words we're using with people, because words create worlds. So if I'm really more clear of what words are coming out of my mouth to make sure it's creating that open space versus I'm being judgmental of someone else, I'm blaming someone else for the problem, versus, hey, we have a problem team, let's work through it together. What can we do to improve this moving forward? It's just being really clear on what words we're using and how we are engaging with others to create that space to have a good conversation that's open. And like Mary Jane said, curiosity is super needed.
Yeah. I want to bring in something that I don't see happen in the workplace, and that is play intentional games. And I'm not referring to political games. No, I'm referring to playing team building games where you can ask each other courageous questions, or you can bring in a facilitator to facilitate that. In the beginning, I shared the question, team building question, or a campfire question about what's the song that energizes you, whether you like music during work, which I do. My partner, he doesn't. Or you want to connect with food. Which food reminds you of home? Let's play more intentional games that build bridges, that build connection, that boost connection and boost trust, boost psychological safety. Because I've seen so many workplaces, so many teams where we just go on with what needs to be done. But if you don't work on the foundation, trust and psychological safety, and knowing who is sitting in front of you, and what are they, a morning person, evening person, what's their communication style, what's their collaboration style, what is their way of working, so that we can demystify and meet each other in the middle. Because if we don't demystify those needs, that's where the harm may lay. That's where we get triggered. That's where we hurt other people whilst collaborating or treating them as the enemy. So I want us to play more intentional games. I see a few comments, so let me go dive into the comments. So Norman is sharing trust in multinational companies. What about multinational companies that have leaders prevailing from culture, who you may either switch language and have side conversations and fellow meetings and after. My answer is invest in cultural intelligence so that you learn more, but also establish what is the main language that needs to be used within the company. I know that in the Netherlands, when you are the person who is from abroad and come in a Dutch group or Dutch speaking people, they often switch into Dutch. And these are little things that can exclude people. Even though it's not intentional, it can exclude people. Do you have something to say regarding what Norman shared?
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge that does pop up when you have people working who come from different cultural backgrounds or different native languages.
Yeah.
I feel that, yes, we need to be aware of when we switch into a language that not everyone understands, not very inclusive. And with that, when you're working in a language of your organization that's not your native tongue, you do need to have some time to be able to express yourself fully in your native language, but what people do understand, to get your point across as clearly as you can, when you can't do that if you're working in another language. So there's some grace needs to happen, as long as that group then comes back saying, hey, we had a quick discussion. I couldn't articulate what I wanted to in our working language. I had to talk in my native tongue. Here's what we talked about. Here's what we discussed. So now everyone's back on the same page. I think is a good tactic to use. We guess people are going to have to speak in their native language to have a break from time to time, but also be aware of how long you're in that side conversation. And if you're bringing back everyone, if you're bringing people into that conversation afterwards, then I think that's fine.
Yeah.
But it's tricky.
Definitely.
Yeah. But understandable that it does happen, and sometimes understandable, like in the examples you're using, Ty. Yeah. Grace is needed. I like that. Thank you.
Losing track of these days.
And Natasha is also sharing, I'm contemplating on sense of belongingness these days. Yes, I guess that looks like trust in the tribe, like bring curiosity to learn what your new or colleague will bring to the table, and who then gets clarity himself that herself, and therefore feels part of the tribe. I've seen more and more companies investing in creating a community. So I see tribe as a community, and I also see it being a pivotal, trust being an important foundation or important ingredient of part of the foundation of creating that belonging, creating trust, but also working on psychological safety. Do you have something to add, Mary Jane, from your perspective?
I'm just, the thought that comes into my mind as I see this, Natasha, is a lot of organizations do offer the employee resource groups, and I know they
Yeah,
have
true.
different names, but that
Yeah.
is where maybe you can find that sense of belonging by affiliating with the groups that speak
Yeah.
to who you are.
Yeah.
Don't know if that's the only answer to this, but
Yeah, know that
belonging is
ERGs,
the ultimate goal. Belonging is the ultimate goal.
true.
Yeah.
Know that ERGs are sometimes called network groups or business resource groups. So
Yeah, I've seen
check
business resources.
internally, find out if there are any network groups that you feel connected to, so that you can, activate that belongingness within the company as well, or find your tribe externally. That can also happen. Ty.
Yeah, and I think it's also just taking the time. So if you have an organization that does have an ERG or employee network, fantastic. But even who do you work with? Either your team, your intact
Yeah.
team you work with, or if you're on certain project teams, are you spending the time to get to know them beyond their functional role and what they're doing on that project? And it can, like we did a quick activity that took 2 minutes to talk about music, which then pointed to what was important for us, what we stood for a little bit. So if we just take a little bit of time to get to know each other beyond, the functional roles or titles or where they worked before, that there's more to us than just our careers, that we can create that sense of connection, that sense of belonging, to find your people is important, but you have to also not sit back and wait for others to come to you. We're going to have to get off our butts and actively make those connections and invest the time. And when people say, "Oh, I don't have time, I'm too busy," it drives me mental. Like, you always have time. If you cared enough, you're going to find the 2 minutes, the 5 minutes, the 15 minutes, the 20 minutes just to invest, to get to know who's sitting here on the table. It's time well invested long term.
I get it. I get that people are sharing that they don't have time, but then again, Ty mentioned something about the email aspect. If I would invest and plan 50 minutes of connecting with you and getting to know you, next time when I share something or when I want something from you, you will have that different connection with me because you know me, you connected with me, and maybe you'll help me, or you'll even point me or direct me towards somebody else that can help me with the challenge that I'm facing. All because I invested in our half-hour connection or a 15-minute connection. So be intentional about creating relations, because I know that when you start somewhere new that you have to work on getting to know people. I may seem like I'm the person who networks a lot. I do, and I did, and I sometimes do, but I recently shared a post that I'm dealing with this inner salsa or inner tango where sometimes I just want to be on my own, and that is also okay. But be intentional about creating relationships, and also collaborating with other people as well.
No.
Super important.
Yeah.
To also find the people who are
and you're being true to yourself. You're being true to yourself. Yeah.
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 This conversation, it's just like, music in my ears. It's challenging to host a conversation like this because I'm here sitting like, oh, I want to hear, I want to listen, and I want to be a fly on the wall. But then again, I am the host. But I do want to ask also these questions to everybody. And I'll start with you, Mary Jane. How do you encourage team members to be more authentic, vulnerable to each other, and what kind of role can it play in building trust?
So, yeah, I think the first thing that pops into my mind on this one is be authentic. That is a word that creebles with me, if you know what I mean. But being true to yourself first and foremost, as a leader, as the person ultimately accountable and responsible for the team. Be vulnerable, show your vulnerability. If you do those two small, like role model what needs to be done. And people will, I mean, we have these mirror networks in our brain. So people will see, they'll hear how you are being, and they will know that they can also be themselves and be vulnerable when the time is needed. And also, I think you talked about it earlier, Ty, in sort of communication, the control and what is it? Command and control style. Give more autonomy to your people. Let them also be responsible for making decisions on how they're going to do the work. Those are a couple of things. Thank you. Oh, I get an awesome card.
You had several.
Yeah, so those are the couple of things that pop into my mind. And Ty, I'll let it over on you. Yeah.
That one about autonomy, because the command and control, especially when it comes to micromanaging, it's not helping, and it's also a deal breaker when you want to build on trust, when you want to work on trust. So trust your people. Define the roles that help them define or co-create a definition of their roles and what they need to do by the end of the week, or maybe they need to do by the end of the month, so that you can trust that they do their job.
Understanding, I think, Ty, if I can just jump in, Vivian, understanding, jumping on that point, that people need, if they're going to be able to fulfill the roles in the team that are there to be filled, they need to know what the strengths are of each individual, what the skill sets are. So those are, again, conversations that need to take place. All right? Yeah. Sorry, Ty, it was on the tip of my tongue. So that's
important to express as well, for sure. I think as a leader, I think the team has to work together with this, but we need to set the table for the team to come. And then once they're at the table, like Mary Jane mentioned, we need to walk the talk and show up at that table the way we want to, by being open with ourselves, vulnerability to our team, and so forth. And I would just add that when others are being in that space and stepping into that, to be a little bit more open, a bit more honest with where they're at. How are you responding to it as a leader? Are you being dismissive to it? Are you getting angry with them for saying something in a certain way? Or are you receptive? Are you showing that you see them, you hear them, you are understanding maybe where they're at? And are you giving them the signal that, hey, you were open with me, you were vulnerable, I'm here with you? They need to be consistent with that for employees that, more and more, or team members that more fully sit in that space with their leader and team members, to be open, to be vulnerable as much as possible. And with that, you're building that psychological safety and trust with each other, so you can open up truly about how you're thinking and feeling in the moments in service of improving things moving forward. So basically, create the table, show up at the table the way you want everyone else to be showing up, and then reinforcing those behaviors when people are doing it, showing appreciation for people to be willing to step into that potentially scary space for them to open things up.
And also to bring back a word that you shared, Ty, earlier, be graceful, because in the end, we're all human. We are going to make a mistake. Everybody will make a mistake. So show up with grace to yourself, but also have compassion or empathy for the other person, and ask questions. Because if your leader or if your coworker is showing up in a way that might harm trust, ask yourself the question, like, are they normally like that and what's happening? And create or ask also courageous questions where you can build bridges instead
Mm.
of breaking down or bombing a bridge.
Yeah.
Like, so once you've bumped it and put the blockade on it, it's really hard to get back to
Yeah.
where you were before with them in terms of that trust
Yeah.
level. So yeah, yes,
Yeah.
like you said, we're gonna have
Yeah.
mistakes. We're gonna have an off day, which is gonna
Yeah.
take a brick or two from that bridge.
Mhm.
And we have to spend time to keep refilling the bricks that we had
Yeah.
taken away. But we need to understand, what, it's not a massive problem that someone showed up in a certain way. They maybe were stressed about something or something in their personal life. Just give them grace, have some curiosity to understand where is this coming from?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How can you support them as a leader, as a peer, a team member, colleague, what have you? But we just have to be willing to care and create that humanness in the
Mhm.
workplace, that we are caring about who's sitting with
Yeah.
us in either the physical space or virtual space, to make sure
Yeah.
we're all being able to be our best selves, get through the day, do the best work we can do, be most impactful, most engaged. But we have to be willing to pause the work and get into the being side of the work.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Right, Jane. Final
Oh,
thoughts.
my final thought is what is triggered by what you just shared, Ty. It's not about what's our expression in English? It's either my way or the highway. Huh? What you're sharing is this open two-way communication and opening the field for dissent, even, but in a constructive manner
Yeah.
and not a destructive manner. So
Yeah.
my last thoughts.
Yeah. Okay, the final question that I need to ask, because otherwise it will not be complete, is what is your wish for 2030 when it comes to humanizing the workplace and trust within teams? And I will start with you and then end with Ty. Right, Jane?
So the one thing that is really strong for me is that by 2030, we're going to be designing work around what people need in the workplace to not just the output that you expect from them, but again, taking into the account of their whole person. And as I mentioned earlier, their strengths, their skill sets, and that well-being and psychological safety. This is maybe a big wish for 2030. We're only 4 years away. That it's going to be embedded in leadership. That leadership is going to understand how important well-being and psychological safety are for the well-being of the organization as well as the people.
Yeah, love that. Thank you.
2030. I would like to see in organizations and with teams and with individuals is that it's more authentically embedded, and like Mary Jane said, authentically embedded in the employee experience, the day-to-day interactions. Everyone in that organization sees the value in this. This is not a soft skill or a nice thing to have. It's a real business driver. And it's important for people to feel that they have a place where they can trust each other. They can be themselves and work with others who are different in terms of their perspectives and ways of doing things and so forth. So it's just more present. And if it's not present, people are taking the time to shift it and have the conversations to create more humanness within how we are working day in and day out, that we're intentionally working on building the trust. And it is, I'm hoping we're in a much better place of more grace, more empathy with each other and supporting each other to build a place that we'd be proud to work with and be excited to come in to work, 5 days a week, 6 days a week, if it comes to that.
Yeah.
Vivian?
I hope that we are at a space. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. I hope that we are in a space where we're building bridges and we are redesigning bridges or updating bridges, but not breaking down bridges, because there are too many bridges that are being broken at the moment where we are not sharing and showing how things could be. So I want us to create recipes for building connection, recipes for boosting psychological safety and trust, because it's an important foundation. It's an important element in the foundation, and oftentimes it's forgotten by just assuming that trust will happen magically. Again, we don't live in Disney or any other cartoon world. We are in a real world where we're working with real people with real needs, real, real connections, real family members who are part of a family or part of a community, and they bring their whole selves into the workplace. It's not only the professional side, they bring also their personal side. So we cannot demand people to not bring in their elements that makes them them, because it's important for the collaboration. So I want us to be more attentive on building bridges.
Nice.
I want to say thank you to everybody who joined live, but also those who are watching the replay. Make sure that you share your questions. You never know who may answer them, or Ty or Mary Jane or myself. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I also want to make sure that when your company or when your team needs support, reach out to one of us, or ideally the three of us, so that we can collaborate as well and see what magic we can bring to amplify your trust, psychological safety, and so much more within your team and the company as well. So until next time, everybody. Bye.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank
Vivian.
you. Thanks, man.
Thanks, everybody.